Financial advisors say that depending on your wealth level, going beyond a certain threshold can deplete your net worth faster than we think. It is called the 0.01% rule. Many wealthy people intuitively use it to guide their spending decisions and to keep their net worth intact and growing. So what is this rule? Hey guys, I'm Andre and welcome to my channel on personal finance. A few weeks ago I came across a podcast and a book called Wealth Ladder by Nick Maggiulli. The premise of the book is this: depending on a wealth level, you have to use different strategies to increase your net worth even more. For example, for someone with less than $1,000 in their checking account, you may have to take any jobs that you can. But for someone with over $1 million in net worth, that won't work. However, the most intriguing point this book makes is this: spending should depend on net worth and not income. Net worth is your assets minus liabilities. Assets are valuables like investments, savings, and home equity. Subtracting debts from assets produces net worth. The wealth ladder is a fascinating network. It builds off so-called net worth levels. For instance, let's take the US. Over 82% of households have less than 1 million in net worth. Most people sit in level 3 with wealth ranging from 100 grand up to a million. Note how almost 20% of US households have under $10,000 at level 1. As we start climbing above level 3, the path starts to narrow. At level 5, less than 2% of US households have a wealth over $10 million. As for those with over 100 million in net worth, there are only 10,000 households like that, or 0.0075%. For comparison, let's add worldwide numbers into the mix. The picture is different since these stats don't account for the purchasing power of a dollar. $10 in the US can buy you a loaf of maybe fancy bread at Whole Foods. In India, you can live off $10 for a week depending on where you are. As we see, most people worldwide live in level 1 or 2. Less and less people fall under higher levels. The US has a higher concentration of wealth compared to the rest of the world. That's why its net worth is more evenly distributed. If we put class names behind each wealth level, here's how it will look like in the US. For example, the US middle class resides in level 3, which is from 100 grand to up to $1 million. And here we begin to see why some people don't feel rich. They always have someone to compare to. Unless, of course, you are the top. And now I get it why financial advisors give what seems like a contradictory advice. For example, one expert may say do budgeting, while another one says you should start your own business. Focusing on budgeting may make difference, especially at level 1 and maybe at level 2. But beyond that, it will probably make little difference. But starting your own business may help you graduate from level 2 and beyond. So as it looks like, different strategies will work for different levels of wealth. This wealth ladder framework can be very powerful on someone's wealth accumulation path. For instance, the difference between level 1 and level 3 is not necessarily how hard a person works, it is rather how they spend their time and direct their effort. It is common for rich people to use their wealth what seems like in outlandish ways. Let's take Rockefellers. In the late 1800s, John Rockefeller began buying up land around Westchester, New York. By 1913, he built so-called Kykuit, an estate with over 3,400 acres of land. The famous oil tycoon spent a fortune to fill his home with fine art and sculptures. Later, he noticed that the nearby railroad around the estate produced a lot of smoke. If you've seen those steam-powered trains with ugly black smoke, that's what I'm talking about. John Rockefeller got an idea. Why not buy up the entire villages nearby and move the tracks farther out? In 1929, Rockefellers purchased the village of Eastview and removed 46 families. Of course, not everyone was happy. To please angry folks, Rockefellers dished out more than villagers' property's worth. Rockefellers spent even more money to move the railroad itself. All that was done so that Rockefellers and their guests could play golf with no unsightly smoke. This anecdote shows the length rich people would go to make their lives super convenient. In his song, Jay-Z pronounced, "What's 50 grand to a mother like me?" Can you please remind me? Nick Maggiulli in his Wealth Ladder book points out that this is not coincidence. 50 grand was more or less 0.01% of Jay-Z's net worth of 450 million back then. 0.01% of net worth should represent an insignificant amount of money to someone. Suppose you have $10,000 in your checking account, then $1 or 0.01% of that represents something that you would spend and even wouldn't notice. And the book calls it the 0.01% rule. Here's how it looks for each wealth level. Level 1 is like living from paycheck to paycheck, and spending $1 will not make a dent in your wealth. And next is level 2, which the book calls grocery freedom, and spending from $1 to $9 is unnoticeable to you. At this level, a household can buy anything they want at supermarkets. For instance, maybe you buy organic versus conventional carrots, or maybe you're after a grass-fed ribeye. Level 3 is where things begin to look interesting. The spending decision here comes down to $10 to $99 range. And the book calls this a restaurant freedom. And maybe going for seafood platter instead of a cheap burger will not make a dent in your net worth. And then this logic extends to other levels. At level 4 is what's so-called travel freedom. The decision here is from $100 to $1,000 range, and spending on fancy vacations and splurging once in a while on travels doesn't make a difference to you. At level 5 you have your house freedom, and at this level you can buy a house pretty much anywhere in the US except for maybe gated communities for ultra-rich. Finally, at level 6 you have an impact freedom, and your spending decision comes down to 10 grand or more. And here people start to think about philanthropic causes and charities. Of course, this is just a generalization. Not everyone consumes according to these levels. You may find people at level 5 flying economy or hunting for bargains. There are also people at level 1 spending on fancy restaurants and vacations. Most people spend based on their income, not net worth. If you have more money coming in, you can afford more money to go out. The thing is that income can be fickle. Today you earn it, but tomorrow it could be gone. I have friends who could not find a job for months. And thankfully they had some money in the bank which helped them until they find a new job. But what if they did not have that? Unemployment benefits can help, but there are caps and limits. For instance, in Florida the limit is 12 weeks, and you can receive a max of $3,300 or only $275 a week. That's like nothing, though other states can be more generous. Either way, research shows that when income goes down for especially high earners, it tends to stay low for quite some time. That's why we see well-paid sports professionals going broke after some time, while those who end up destitute spend according to their income, not their net worth. But what if injury or something else happens and they cannot compete in their sports anymore? Or, plain and simple, money runs out. The wealth ladder system suggests taking a good look at spending above necessities. After paying for shelter, food and other basics, the rest is discretionary. The 0.01% rule is very helpful in guiding spending decisions, but this rule only works if you have a regular income. For instance, if you lose your job and have 20 grand in your checking account at level 2, it will last you for so long. Without income, depleting savings will come sooner than later. Another suggestion I found very helpful is to consider only liquid assets for applying the 0.01% rule. For instance, suppose your net worth consists of $50,000 on checking account and $200,000 in home equity. Unfortunately, $200,000 is not available to you right away. True, you can take out a home equity loan, or you can sell your house and rent instead. But this comes at the expense of that rent or a loan payments with interest. So for this reason, it is best to treat an illiquid part of your net worth as if it doesn't exist. Overall, I really enjoyed reading The Wealth Ladder by Nick Maggiulli. It's a great book and I left a link to it down below. In my future videos, I will talk about other aspects of climbing the wealth ladder and lessons we can learn. Stay tuned for that and subscribe to my channel for more content on personal finance. All the best!